Hello, welcome. Dr. Sushma Singh this side. Today we start Unit 12, Descent and Alliance Approaches to the Study of Kinship in India. In the previous unit, we have studied about an understanding of the social institutions of family, household and marriage in India. In order to fully understand the social relationship involved in family and marriage, we need to raise our level of cognition to yet another level of abstraction, namely rules, norms, and patterns that govern the construction of social relationships in family and marriage. These are kinship rules, norms, and patterns. In India, a country of immense diversity in its regions and communities, we find a wide range of kinship systems, and it is not easy to present an overall picture of these kinship systems. We may make an effort to talk about the two major geographical regions, the north and the south of the country. Even the sociological literature has highlighted features of North and South Indian kinship system. This does not imply that there are no other varieties of kinship systems in some part of both North and South India. In order to study the North and South Indian kinship system, sociologists have followed some approaches, and the unit discusses the application of descent and alliance approaches to the study of kinship system in North and South India. Now let us move to the point application of descent theory to the study of kinship system in North India. For purposes of describing the kinship system found in India, Iravati Karve identified four cultural zones, namely the northern, the central, the southern, and the eastern zones. We can locate the northern zone according to Karve between the Himalayas to north and the Vindhya ranges to the south. In this region, the majority of the people speak languages derived from Sanskrit. Some of the main languages spoken in the region are Hindi, Bihari, Sindhi, Punjabi, Assamese, and Bengali. In such a large region, we cannot say that there exists just one kinship system. The differences of language, history, and culture have brought about a high degree of variation within the region. We may, however, try to look at the pattern of kinship organizations of the communities in this region on the basis of broad and general features. We can describe the basic structure and process of kinship system in this area in terms of four features, namely kinship groups, kinship terminology, marriage rules, and ceremonial exchange of gifts among kin. Let us take each of these features to discuss the kinship system in North India. The first is kinship groups. Sociological studies in various parts of the North India show that social groups such as patrilineage, clan, caste, subcaste, and sometimes also the fictive kinship provide the basis for cooperation or conflict among the people, and therefore we now discuss each of these groups. Let us discuss patrilineage. We can say that broadly speaking, unlineal descent groups are the basis of kinship organization in India. When we trace the lineage membership of a group on the basis of shared descent in one line. We can name it a unilineal descent group. In North India, we find mostly patrilineal descent groups. This means that we trace the descent in the male line from the father to son. Members of patrilineages cooperate uh, as well as fight in various situations. Let us find out how this takes place in terms of cooperation, conflict, and inheritance of status and property. The next stage, cooperation. Members of the patrilineage cooperate in ritual and economic activities. They participate together in life cycle rituals, in settlement of disputes. The senior men of the lineage try to sort out the matter within the lineage. Cooperation among the lineage members is strengthened because they live close together in the same village. As the farmlands of lineage members are normally located in the same village, they set up their houses almost next to each other. In this situation, there is constant exchange of material resources from the household of one member to another. Lewis, Minton, and Hickok, Berryman, and Nicholas describe the pattern of cooperation in their studies of kinship pattern in North India. From their studies of the kinship system, we can say that these studies follow the descent approach because they examine the pattern of cooperation and conflict in the descent group. Now the next is conflict. Lineage members help each other, but fights on conflicts also characterize kinship relation among them. For example, T.N. Madan shows how in a Kashmir village rivalry among brothers leads to partition of the joint family. Later, this rivalry takes more intense form in the relationship between the children of brothers. The next point is inheritance of status and property. Transmission of status and property from one generation to the next takes place according to certain rules. In North India, the status and property generally pass in the male line. In other words, we find a predominantly patrilineal mode of inheritance in North India. For this reason, the composition of patrilineage becomes very important. The lineage members cooperate for economic and jural regions. They share jural rights and therefore they cooperate in order to continue possessing the rights. They also fight among themselves about who is to get more benefit from those rights. Pradhan has describes how the Jats and other landowners of the Meerut and other districts around Delhi have a certain portion of the village land and how it cannot be transferred out of the lineage. To keep the land within the lineage, its male members have to remain united. Land ownership in this case becomes the main principle of their social organization. After discussing patrilineage as a characteristic feature of the kinship groups in the North India, we can now move to the discussion of clan, the second feature of the kinship group in the North India. We will discuss in our next lecture. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.